Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. We will be starting with the national anthem both in French and English. So I will be sharing a video. Bear with me.
Sorry, everyone, we're having some technical issues here. We will be with you shortly.
Sorry, are you not able to see it?
We cannot hear anything.
We can see the video, we just can't hear it, Sonia.
I had it. Okay, let me just start it again. Thank you to these sweet little girls. That was beautiful. I will be handing it off to Remy, the president of Women Focus Canada.
Good morning, fellow Canadians, leaders, and future trailblazers. My name is Dr. Oluremi Adewale, and as the founder of Women Focus Canada, I am most thrilled to welcome you today as we celebrate our great nation, Canada. First, I would like to begin by thanking God by whom grace we are able to come together on this very beautiful day. By his blessing, we have an incredible lineup of inspiring Canadians who will be sharing their stories with us and offering us the motivation we need to make Canada proud. Before we begin, let us acknowledge the hurts that the Indigenous peoples are feeling in light of the recent events that have left the country shaking and speechless. As Canadians, we stand firmly with the Indigenous community as we mourn their loss and the sufferings. As allies, we support their struggle to seek justice and answers. We promise to actively work with them until the entire truth is uncovered and reconciliation is realized. In anticipation of today's event, we launched a media campaign asking Canadians, what does Canada mean to you? We received quite a number of submissions from Canadians from all ages, genders, and backgrounds from across the country and beyond. As one of these Canadians, I would like to share with you what Canada means to me. As a Nigerian Canadian woman, I am truly blessed to call this vibrant country my home. To me, Canada means a land where diversity is nurtured and celebrated. Do you know that 1 in every 5 Canadians is a person of color? According to the Statistics Canada 2016. Statistics Canada reports that people of color make up more than 22% of our total population, representing over 250 unique ethnic backgrounds, according to the Government of Canada 2017 and Statistics Canada 2016. To me, this means that Canada is a place where, regardless of our roots, we can grow together to create a rich garden. As we celebrate Canada, let us remind ourselves that this precarious gift of freedom would not be possible without the generous sacrifices made by our fellow countrymen and countrywomen. Let us not take peace for granted. Let us honor their gifts so we may enjoy life and thrive in the legacy that they have created for us all. Now, I would like to acknowledge the accomplishments of prominent Canadians who have left a permanent impact on our nation. Canadians such as Kim Campbell, the first female Prime Minister of Canada. Canadians such as Zanana Akande, the daughter of Caribbean immigrants who was the first woman from the African diaspora to serve as a cabinet minister in Canada. Of course, we remember the Honorable Dr. Lilia Diek, the first Canadian-born Chinese person to be appointed to the Senate and one of the first women of First Nations heritage to obtain a PhD in science in Canada. As a Canadian, I am blessed to follow the footsteps of these incredible women who have paved a path for generations of Canadians to come. Their all-inspiring leadership serves as a reminder to all of us for the need to come together to contribute to the growth and development of this our very beautiful country. Despite all the progress, let us also acknowledge that Canada is not perfect just yet. And in fact, we still have a long way to go. However, let us not be discouraged with the challenge ahead of us. Instead, let us come together as one country to realize the cross-Canada vision of unity and build an even brighter future. As we near the 154th anniversary of our great country, I would like to leave you to reflect on the powerful words of our very own Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. I quote, "Canadians come from every corner of the world, speak two official languages and hundreds more. They practice many faiths and represent many cultures. Multiculturalism is at the heart of Canada's heritage and identity. And as Canadians, we recognize that our differences make us strong." On behalf of the Women Focus Canada, I would like to wish everyone who is celebrating with their families and their communities a most happy Canada Day. Happy birthday, Canada. Thank you for watching. It is now my honor and privilege to introduce to you the moderators for today's event. Please join me to welcome Nikki Wahid and Semi Kaiser.
Thank you, Dr. Remy, for the very warm opening to our event today. And a very good morning to everybody joining us. My name is Simi, and I will be one of your moderators today. A little bit about me. I work in the field of international development and global health. In my spare time, I love to read books and spend time with my family. Something I'm really looking forward to today is the Q&A session, where we will get to hear from you, our amazing audience, and hear some of the thoughtful questions that you have for our speakers.
Thank you, Simi. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nikki Wahid, and I will be joining Simi as your moderator today. I work as a career practitioner supporting job seekers by providing professional development services and also working with organizations in identifying talent.
Thank you, Nikki. We also just want to remind our audience that WFC will be using the information from this event. So any photos, videos, and other materials will be used for educational purposes and on different social media platforms.
Yeah, and Simi, you mentioned the Q&A earlier, and I just want to assure you that there will be time at the end of all presentations for our speakers to answer those burning questions that you have. So we also ask the audience to put their questions in the Q&A section of this platform as you listen to each presenter. And we also want to encourage you to stay till the end. And remember, we are live on Facebook on the Women Focus Canada page. And before we begin, of course, I'd like to call on Sonia to launch our pre-polling questions.
Thank you, ladies. I will launch a quick poll here for everyone to respond, and we'll give you a few seconds and I'll read it out loud. Is awareness and dialogues on inclusion and diversity an important issue in our society today? So we'll give everybody a few moments. All right, so I'm going to end polling and let's share results here. I wasn't expecting anything else. So yes, you can see how important this issue is in our society today, and we will be addressing it throughout our webinar. So I will stop sharing results now and hand it back to these wonderful ladies.
Thank you so much, Sonia. We will be, well, I just want to say to the audience, be expectant. You are going to meet a lot of great speakers today, showcasing really how important diversity is. So again, stay tuned. But to begin the session, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, which is the Honorable Sheila Cox. Currently president of Sheila Cox and Associates, Inc., she has a rich history and a track record as a public servant and national leader. Honorable Cox was the first woman to ever hold the position of Deputy Prime Minister and served for 10 years in federal cabinet, both as Minister of the Environment and Minister of Canadian Heritage. As a policymaker, Honorable Cox has made her mark in areas such as diversity and inclusion, protection of the environment, and support for young Canadians and women. Among her many achievements, she established Young Canada Works to provide annual summer employment for youth and led ministers of cultures from over 50 nations in the development of the first ever international network on cultural diversity. Please join me in welcoming Honorable Sheila Cox.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nikki, and thank you, Remy. In particular, thank you to Women Focus Canada for inviting me to participate in this reflection and focus on Canada Day. When Remy initially contacted me some time ago, we weren't aware, most Canadians were certainly not aware of the horrific events that we've uncovered in the last couple of weeks, and understandably, this year's Canada Day has to take on a different tone. We expect answers, as Oluremi Adewale said, to the questions that bear down on the government and on the Catholic Church. And I know as Canadians, we're all in pain for the Indigenous peoples who want answers for their children and for their grandchildren. And I expect over the next few weeks, you're going to see more examples of mass graves in sanatoriums, other places where at one time in this country, I'm ashamed to say that Indigenous people were definitely treated as not only second-class citizens, but they were taught that their cultures and their language were not valued and that they should be wiped out. And that in order to succeed in our country, they had to speak white. And I think that is something that we've learned from in many ways, but we need to learn more. And what I tried to do this morning, given the time frame, is to give us a little bit of history as to why I think that the most prevalent word in the Canadian vocabulary is sorry. It's sorry partly because I think from the beginning of Canada, and this goes back to 1864, we celebrate the foundation of Canada as 1867 because that was the day that it came together on July 1st. But actually in 1864, we had leaders of different countries, literally, and different factions coming together, different languages, different religions. And imagine in 1864, all men coming together, but deciding that it was possible to create one country where two religions and two languages would actually live in equality. And if you fast forward to today, one of the biggest problems we have is figuring out how religions and languages can live together, whether it's Israel and Palestine, or Arabs and Jews, or Catholics and Protestants. People always find themselves in their separate corner. And because Canada tried to change this dynamic in the very beginning, it means that most decisions that we make are based on not just what is good for the majority, but also how to accommodate the minority. It hasn't always happened, and there are plenty of examples, even in the French school system, where children were beaten for speaking their language. But I think the goal that we aspire to is to ensure that not just the majority is represented in public policy, but also the minority. And how do we achieve that? And as Remy mentioned, there are so many different languages in Canada. In the Indigenous community alone, there are 56 languages, of which about 50 are going to disappear in one generation. And just to put it in context, and I'm sorry, I'll have to be as brief as I can. One of the projects that I'm working on now, which is so exciting and which gives me hope, is the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan has launched a language learning, Michif language childcare system starting in junior kindergarten. And this past year, 200 children went to school in their language, fully in their language, for the first time in the history of that province. And they're moving forward every year with adding another year. So by this time in the next decade, we will have a full Michif language in 7 different school boards in Saskatchewan. That's part of the language investment that's been made by the government, but it's also a recognition that languages are worth saving, and different languages contribute to the different cultures, contribute to the richness of Canada. The reason that we're where we're at, as Remy said, with so many people who've come from every corner of the globe, people talk about the racialized Canadians. Well, actually, the first racialized Canadian actually came to Canada with Samuel de Champlain. And when I became a minister, nobody even knew his name. And I said, this is crazy. We celebrate the English and the French, but what about all the others have contributed? And that's why we came forward in February with during Black History Month with some specific learning tools to teach the children of Canada that it wasn't just set up by white Europeans. It's a place where everybody brings their talents to the table. And yes, we have made mistakes, and we continue to make mistakes. And I hang my head in shame to think about those poor children who were thrown in graves without even being marked, because that is a shame for all of us. But at the same time, we're all working to aspire to change that. And the work that you're doing with Women Focus Canada today, I think, really gives all of us a chance to reflect on the fact that not only do we recognize our mistakes by saying sorry, but we also need to have hope for the future, because in recognizing that the majority should not trump the minority, we have managed over the course of the last several decades to seek and achieve equality in many sectors. And it's moving in the right direction. But as Remy said, we're not a perfect country. And today is a day to reflect on our imperfections, and also potentially to ensure that we continue to head in the right direction. And that all of you, especially, I was really impressed by the number of young people participating in this seminar. And you're the future. And one message that I have for you: never be afraid to fail. I think I ran for the leadership of the Liberal Party twice. I didn't succeed either time, but both gave me an experiential lift in my life that I would never have. If I had allowed fear to dictate my future, I never would have run. It was scary. I was elected first when I was 28 years old, and believe me, I was sweating like the first night in my life I ever woke up in a cold sweat, because I went to the provincial parliament in Ontario. There were 33 men in our caucus. The average age was 50. I was 28 and the only woman. So you can imagine what it was like. It was scary, but it's worth forging forward. And don't fear failure, and put yourself out there. Don't let the men take all the credit. Men are great. We need them as partners, but they're always very good at taking the credit, and we're very good at giving the credit. We need to take some too. So take it back and use this Canada Day reflection to take back Canada for women, especially through Women Focus Canada. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you so much, Honorable Cobbs, especially for that message around. And I was taking notes, and I hope everybody else is taking notes too, because I do have questions for you at the end as a policymaker. But I just first and foremost want to thank you. What I got from that was, yes, we want to offer apologies, but more than anything, offering action and not being afraid to fail, right? Because there's also such a thing as failing forward, right? But at least it's the action that's important. Thank you so much for that. All right, I'll hand it off to you, Simi.
Thank you, Nikki. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you our next speaker. Her name is Noura Al-Jazawi, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Noura, please correct me if I'm not. Noura is a research assistant at the Citizen Lab at the Munk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy at the University of Toronto. Noura's research focuses on information and communication technology, human rights, and global security. Previously, Noura was an active member of the Syrian opposition. Following the Syrian uprising, she elected a vice president and played a key role in Geneva peace talks in 2014. She is also the chairperson of Start Point, an NGO that she co-founded dedicated to human rights, justice, support victims who suffer human rights violations in Syria, and women's rights in conflicts. Due to her political and human rights activism, Noura was detained without a charge and tortured by the Syrian security establishment. Over to you, Noura.
Thanks so much for the introduction, and thanks so much for Women Focus Canada. I'm really honored to be here with you. And I'm gonna take the privilege to thanks Honorable Cobbs for her super powerful statement. I feel like I have nothing to add. It's really super powerful, and I'm here like I will add my contribution, and I will be super brief. I'd like to hear more from the audience who are listening to us and respond to any questions. Honestly, when I was first invited to speak today, I was told by one of my friends that don't do it. She said, like, it's quite a complicated time, and you don't want your first speak to Canadians about Canada during such complicated time. I told her, this is an additional motivation to me to speak. I dare to speak when speaking needs courage. And here I am, listening, learning, and sharing. It's absolutely not easy to talk about Canada and Canada Day in such a tough time during the middle of pandemic that's affected everyone. During the struggle of Black Lives Matter, after the hate speech campaign targeted the Asian communities, after the hate speech targeting the Muslim communities, after the London attack and the heartbreaking murder of Afzal family, and moreover, after the terrifying news about the residential schools and the mass graves of children and the graves of the Indigenous people. It's absolutely not easy to talk about Canada or to easily say we want to celebrate Canada Day. I came to Canada 4 years ago as a master's student that survived detention, torture, assassination attempts, death threats, and war. I came from a country where the information we received were controlled by the authorities, and I had limited knowledge about Canada. I knew that Canada, as many other Syrian youth back then, I knew that Canada is the land of dreams, of freedom, of democracy. Then, when I arrived in Canada, I was lucky enough to meet inspiring people who helped me to go beyond, to think critically, to start learning about Canada deeply, start learning the history of Canada, the story of this territory, the story of the people. I'm learning about the Indigenous people, the tribes, the arts, the stories, the history of African, the Asian communities, Latin communities, the struggle of the Jewish people here, the history of Muslim communities, the history of East Central European communities, about the history of the Black communities. I'm learning about the people who made and will make Canada great. Honestly, I'm not here today to inspire anyone. I'm here to get inspired by you all, to get inspired by the variety of people in Canada, by how they come together to make decisions. They come together in sadness and stand for each other, who show sympathy, solidarity, and take collective actions to change, who make choices to make the change that we need to make the dream real, to make Canada great, inclusive, just, and safe for everyone, who choose to recall the dark past, to reconcile with the moment, and to make the future better. People who can confront hate with love, who can confront division with unity, integration, partnership, and collaboration. In Syria, in March 2011, I made a decision with many of my fellow citizens. We went to the streets to demonstrate peacefully, despite the fact that we may never come back. We all believe that our generation will make the sacrifice seeking a better future for the other generations. Today, 2021, in Canada, in a country I call home, in a country I love, and I love its people, in a country I'm rediscovering myself in a country I'm raising my daughter in, I still believe in our obligation to work collectively and make the future great. We may not be able to control the past, but the present is ours, and we can control the future, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nora. And I mean, I think I speak for everybody here today when I say that I'm really glad that you had the courage to come and enrich our event and share both your experiences and the call to action to work collaboratively. So thank you so much. Nikki, over to you.
Thank you, Cindy. All right, so next we'll be hearing from Mayor Bonnie Crombie. Since first being elected as mayor in 2014, Mayor Crombie has worked diligently to improve the quality of life for Mississauga residents while managing the growth of Canada's sixth largest city. Prior to being elected as mayor, she served as the Ward 5 City Councillor and Member of Parliament for Mississauga Streetville. Mayor Crombie enjoyed a 20-year career in business, working for Fortune 500 companies and starting her own business as an entrepreneur. Fostering innovation and creating a more open, engaging, inclusive, and sustainable city have been Mayor Crombie's leading priorities since taking office. And now word for Mayor Crombie.
Hello, Mayor Bonnie Crombie here from the great city of Mississauga, and I'd like to send my best wishes to everyone attending Women Focus Canada Day event. I'd like to start off by recognizing the President and CEO of Women's Focus Canada, Dr. Oluremi Adewale. Her work on mental and physical health has impacted the lives of thousands in Mississauga and beyond. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, Dr. Adewale and the team at Women's Focus Canada for all you do in improving the quality of life for those in our community. The COVID-19 pandemic has been an incredibly difficult time for so many in our community, but particularly for women. Women have been faced with taking care of children and their elderly parents, while also working from home and still having to find time to keep up their households running. But what's remarkable is that in the midst of this global pandemic and the uncertainties that it has raised, women have stepped up on so many fronts, looking after their families and the community at large. As we join virtually, I'd like you all to know that we are strong, we are capable, and we are resilient. We're also truly fortunate to live in an accepting, compassionate, and diverse country like Canada. but I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the acts of terror that took place in London, Ontario. Islamophobia, hate, and discrimination have no place in our community. And our council at the City of Mississauga have taken steps through Resolution 207, which formally identifies racism and discrimination in our society and in our institutions as a public health crisis that requires decisive and immediate action. If meaningful change is to happen, then we have to ask ourselves what we are doing as individuals, governments, and community groups to not just denounce racism and discrimination, but to build inclusivity into everything we do, which ultimately creates mutual understanding and respect and challenges existing prejudices. We must do more to elevate the voices and stories of racialized and marginalized groups. And your organization does just that. It provides a safe space of resources, learning, and growth. Thank you for all you do that contributes to Mississauga and beyond. Please stay healthy and stay safe.
Fantastic words from Mayor Crombie. For me, what really stood out there was understanding the impact of COVID-19 on marginalized communities. There was a question that actually came across in the chat that says, what can we do to support your work? Part of that, I think, for me, is understanding who is impacted and then seeing how I can join that work so that, again, it's not just a matter of theories and stories and things that we're hearing in the headlines, but again, taking firm action against racism, against the harms that have been done to the Indigenous community. And again, asking myself, what action can I take to support that work? So again, thank you, Mayor Crombie, for those words, and I'll pass it on to my partner, Simi.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nikki. So the next speaker that I will be introducing today, her name is Annamie Paul. She is the leader of the Green Party of Canada. Ms. Paul is a Princeton-educated politician, activist, and lawyer, and the first Black Canadian person and the first Jewish woman to be elected leader of a major federal party in Canada. Ms. Paul has extensive experience in civic engagement and international affairs. Some of the previous roles she has held include being the director of a leading conflict prevention NGO, a political officer in Canada's mission to the European Union, an advisor at the International Criminal Court, and a co-founder and director of the Canadian Centre for Political Leadership, a nonpartisan charity that trains women and people from underrepresented communities to run for elected office. So I am just checking to see if Ms. Paul is here yet. And I'm getting word that she's not here at the moment. So perhaps for now, we can move on to the next speaker and come back to Ms. Paul. Apologies for any inconvenience. Nikki, would you like to go ahead and introduce the next speaker?
I absolutely will. All right. So while we wait, I have actually a special presentation for you today. I say I, like I did it, but again, we do have a special presentation for you. This presentation is by First Entertainment, a group of Indigenous peoples and new immigrants meeting for the first time and discovering that music is a universal language. We hope you enjoy this piece brought to you courtesy of CBC GEM. Thank you.
Almost all the steps are in common. Like this one we have.
Yeah. You would always come up and you're like, oh, bring the brass down. Then you come back. Yeah. You guys have your song?
It's funny that we have the same exactly step.
Yeah.
So that we do like this.
Yeah.
lovely as hell.
It is, man.
Woo!
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And thank you to the Indigenous artists for sharing their art with us. We would like to take this moment to recognize that as newcomers, we have a special opportunity to truly engage in the dish with one spoon. You may ask what I mean by the dish with one spoon. Let me share with you this land acknowledgement by one of our local universities. Toronto's in the dish with one spoon territory. The dish with one spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and the Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. And I hope you saw that coming through loud and clear in that video presented by CBC Gem.
Thank you, Nikki. And also a reminder that as settlers in Canada, our responsibility extends beyond simply sympathizing with what's going on in the news, but also to recognize our role in actively working with the First Nations community to advocate as allies and truly understand our role and responsibilities in truth and reconciliation. To find out more about Truth and Reconciliation, please visit the website TRC, www.trc.ca, and we will be sharing the link in the chat. And now I would like to return to one of our earlier scheduled speakers that I'm sure everybody's been waiting to hear from. And, you know, it was all just a trick to keep the suspense going. And Ms. Paul is finally here. So Ms. Annemie Paul, please, over to you.
Hello, everyone. And sorry, I thought this was the scheduled time, but I'm glad to be with you this morning. I am here on the traditional territories of the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Huron-Wendat. And I'm very grateful to have this brief opportunity to greet you on my behalf and on behalf of the Green Party of Canada and our members. Congratulations on this event. And, you know, you can never have enough of these events, you know, because so many of the reasons that you're hosting this still exist. They've existed for a long time, and is really only ultimately in working together and supporting each other that we can see improvement. And there's still a great deal of room for improvement. So let me just make a couple of observations. And for those of you who know all of these things, I apologize in advance for them, because I know some of you will know just as much as me and more about where we're at in terms of diversity and in terms of women in politics. But let me just say it, because it's important to say it, that we're still not where we need to be. And by that, you know, just look at the landscape, look at it at the provincial level, look at it at the federal level. And whether you're talking just about elected representatives, women continue to be underrepresented, diverse peoples in Canada continue to be underrepresented. And then the higher you go, the worse it gets. We have, you know, you have in front of you the only woman to lead a federal party with seats in Parliament, and only one of two women to have led a federal party with seats in Parliament since 2003. And so this is something that all of us should be aware of. When you look at the provinces, we have 10 provinces and 3 territories. Only one of them is led by a woman. And only one of them is led by an Indigenous person. And so that's not Canada. That's not what we look like. We haven't looked like that for a long time. And we have to ask ourselves, what is the price that we're paying as a country, as a society for that lack of diversity? Because the cost is real. You know, as someone who founded the first institute in Canada working to increase the representation of underrepresented groups, I know, thanks to the work of academics in this country and abroad, that when we don't tap into our diversity, we lose a lot. We lose quality of policy. We lose it in terms of the quality of the policies that we pass, both in terms of their effectiveness in addressing the issue that they were designed for, and then also in terms of their sustainability and their avoidance of unintended consequences. We also lose in terms of the quality of the discourse and the culture within our institutions, because we know that the more women we have and the more diverse people we have, and when you get to a critical mass, national assemblies become more cooperative, they become kinder, they become more compassionate, they become more collaborative. And those are all things, of course, that we need more of these days, because the challenges that we face are big, and they're ones that are going to require positive collective action. We also lose out because in a society that is only headed wonderfully so towards more diversity, when people don't feel represented, when they don't feel associated, when they don't feel that they can identify with our institutions, then they don't participate in them, then they don't value them, then they don't vote. And all of those things affect our social cohesion. All of those things make our democracy more fragile. And so those are things also that should be of a concern. So what is the good news then coming out of all of that, now that we know where we are? The good news is that we have been incredibly successful. Successive governments of all kinds have been incredibly successful in attracting the most talented people from around the world to our country. And those people, whether they're new Canadians or they've been here and have had their own children, are here and ready to serve, ready to contribute their talent to public policy, to our political system, to our political institutions. And so it's really about making sure that we identify and that we dismantle the barriers so that they can make that contribution. In the case of our party, we launched the Time to Run campaign, which was really designed to do exactly that. Not just to say we want we value and want your talent, but to say we're going to make it easier for you to contribute it by making it easier for you to present yourselves as someone who might want to run for our party. And it's something that every single party, particularly at the provincial and federal level, should do, because we really are the gatekeepers when you're talking about those levels of parliament. And it's a moment where it's important for us to do that, because women in politics and diverse voices are needed more than ever. We have seen all the ways during this pandemic that women have been disproportionately disadvantaged. We've seen the ways that the policies that we've had have fell short in making sure that women had the supports that they needed. We know that women are at risk now, of not just women, but also marginalized, racialized communities as well. That we are at risk. I mean, I'm part of many of those groups, that we're at risk of permanent structural disadvantage coming out of this pandemic and losing decades of really hard-won gains. And so if there was ever a time for these voices in politics, it is now. It is now. As we talk about how we're going to have a green recovery, as we talk about how we will complete our social safety net, as we talk about how we will forge a truly just society where reconciliation is absolutely at the top of the agenda, this is the time. And so as my final thought, I would say, And I am throwing out a challenge and recognizing that it is a burden, but nevertheless doing it, given all that we understand. I am saying to all of you women, all of you members of diverse communities who continue to be underrepresented, please know that I see and that I am personally experiencing many of the barriers and the challenges that we face when we seek to contribute, when we seek to serve. There was a quote the other day that really stuck with me that talked about how the system tries to grind you away. And that is true. And I acknowledge it. And I don't want to deny that. But what I would say to you is acknowledge that, but please don't let it limit you if you can at all avoid it. Acknowledge it and then move on. Acknowledge it and then talk about how you're going to take each one of those barriers and dismantle it. Acknowledge it and then still say to yourself, there are really important reasons why I should be in these roles, or people like me should be in these roles. Our voices are needed, our contribution is needed. So take those reasons why and make those more important to you than the reasons why you shouldn't. And for all of you who are participating in this, find support in each other. Find support in each other. And this transcends party lines. Certainly, I would not be here today if I didn't have the support of liberal women, of conservative women, of NDP women, of women who don't belong to any party at all in my leadership and since then. So find support in each other. And if the network that you need doesn't exist, build it amongst each other because this is really the time. We have an extraordinary moment of opportunity and also an extraordinary moment of challenge. And there is no question that if more of you step up to the plate, knowing what it involves, knowing what it takes, that we will all be better off. And so thank you so much for your leadership. I know without knowing you all personally that there are tremendous leaders on this call. Thank you. Thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you so much for all that you have done during the pandemic within your communities and even prior to that, for stepping into all of those breaches. And please know that I am here personally to support you if you need it. The organizers know how to reach me. And my role, as always, is to try to create access and make it easier for the next person. So please tell me how I can do that for you, and you can count on me for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Paul. Your message was incredibly inspiring. And also thank you for not only saying these things, but also for walking the talk and stepping up to the plate and being a leader and advocating on behalf of these communities yourself. One message that really resonated with me was building your network. I know that for me, if it wasn't for the mentorship of women of color, women from different communities, I would not be here. And the fact that they advocated for me, even when I wasn't in the room, for opportunities that I didn't even know of, I am so grateful to them. So thank you for reminding us of the power of social networks and of communities.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think at this time, while we are waiting for our next speaker, we will ask one of our earlier speakers, Nora, to take a question from the audience. And Nora, the question for you is, how can we support your work?
Thanks so much for that question and for raising it. Definitely, since my work in the meantime still with the Syrian community and the survivors inside Syria and the neighboring countries, our organization is still it's like only 7 years old. And we've been trying to learn, to invest in learning from other people, from other experiences of other countries. So there's a lot for Start Point to learn from the inspiring audience here, from Women Focus Canada, and also from the great process of and the sacrificing and work of the women here, of the process of reconciliation, and talking about the oral history and sharing the stories. Also, on the other hand, we work with people like the Kurdish people, and it's a great learning lesson to learn how we need to advocate in the future to include the rights of culture and education in the hopefully in the future of Syria, how to make, because it's similar, the history of Kurdish people and the other indigenous people in Syria were not able to, because the formal language is only Arabic. So all of these communities were unfortunately unable to learn their language officially at schools. So it's going to be another great opportunity and privilege for us to learn from the experience of the communities here, and the work has been done. And yeah, definitely, I can share my my email, and we can stay in contact. Anyone would like to learn or to teach the Syrian community, or to share any piece of knowledge, it's going to be more than welcome. And hopefully we can do something in the future to support, because also there's a lot of survivors of detention and human rights violations from Syria and from the region have arrived in Canada. And we can do something hopefully to support them properly, whether on providing psychosocial support, helping them to share their stories and to advocate for their rights and for the people who left behind. As a survivor myself, I believe that all the time I keep carrying in my heart. Today is the International Day of the Survivors of Detention and Torture. And I keep carrying in my heart the stories of people I left behind, sharing these stories, advocating for them, for their freedom and liberty. It's going to be like a process of healing, and it's going to be help all of us to come together to work collectively to support other marginalized communities. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Noura. Over to Nikki to introduce the next speaker.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so I hope you're still with us, and I hope that you're still, writing down your notes and sharing your questions with us. But next, we'd like to share a few messages with you from a few members of Parliament. This includes Honorable Philomena Tassi, Member of Parliament for Hamilton West, Ancaster, Dundas. Honorable Maninder Sidhu, Member of Parliament for Brampton East. Honorable Anita Vandenvelde, Member of Parliament for Ottawa West, Nepean. And Honorable Saima Saeed, Member of Parliament for Scarborough Centre. Oh, I have some great news. We'll hold off on the videos, but for now, I think we want to introduce our next guest.
Great, and I have the pleasure of introducing our next guest. He is Mayor Frank Scarpitti. Mayor Frank Scarpitti was elected as the mayor of Markham in 2006, 2010, 2014, and 2018. He was first elected to Markham Council in 1985 as a regional councillor. In total, the people of Markham have elected him 9 times. He has served on both the councils of the city of Markham and the York region for 30 years. Mayor Scarpitti serves on York Regional Council and is the current chair of York Region Rapid Transit Corporation, which is a total tongue twister to say out loud. And it's also known as Viva Transit. As co-chair of Markham Stouffville Hospital's capital campaign, his efforts contributed to surpassing the hospital's $50 million fundraising goal. Mayor Scarpitti and his wife, Nancy, also have 3 children. Welcome, Mayor.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to everyone, and great honor for me to be here. I was looking forward to hearing all of those recorded messages, and I will wait around for them because that's quite a list. So I just want to say thank you. And of course, in particular, Dr. Adewale, thank you. And to all the members of the Women Focus Canada for inviting me here today, particularly with your theme of growth in diversity. Because I wear this as a badge of honor. The city of Markham is the most diverse community in all of Canada, with very close to 80%, it's an oxymoron, but very close to 80% of the people identifying themselves as a visible minority, when in fact, you know, that beautiful mosaic makes up the majority of our community. And of course, it's great to see former Deputy Prime Minister and friend that I've known for many years, Sheila. Great to see you, and great that you're part of this program. You know, I know in other parts of the world, particularly south of the border, so much is made about breaking that glass ceiling. And it's incredible that at this day and age, we have to use that terminology. Let me tell you, that glass ceiling was broken many years ago in Canada with Sheila Copps. And because it was broken all the way through, you know, there's just been incredible advancement. Sheila, you've been a leader. You've always stood up and for Canadians of all backgrounds and men and women, but you've been an inspirational role model for women in a time in Canada when it wasn't so easy to do. So it's just so wonderful to see you. And when I saw your name on this program, I thought, boy, oh boy, here we go. I want to be a part of this, not only for everything that it represents this morning, but when you have someone like Sheila as part of the program, I think it speaks volumes on a couple of fronts. Certainly, we have many inspirational women, but I think the fact that we're having this program today speaks to the fact that we got a lot more work to do. And I'll touch on that in just a minute. And of course, I'm really pleased to be here with so many inspirational women. Women do inspire everyone, and they're taking bold action. Women are rising in every corner of Canada. So today and every day, we do stand for women's equality and gender parity. Gender diversity is an absolute priority for Canada, for all communities across Canada. Everyone here, men and women, share the same sense of purpose, pursuing similar values in the name of advancing the collective good. It's about unity, reflection, advocacy, equality, principles we're all very proud to uphold. We are among thought leaders and change makers who truly are redefining roles in the workplace and creating opportunities for generations to come. And I have to say, I'm particularly proud that Women Focus in Canada is at the forefront of female empowerment and providing opportunities and support to Canadians. And here in the city of Markham, we're very proud of the fact that through our Regional Innovation Center, we have a wonderful initiative called Tech Undivided, which supports women in tech and making sure that the barriers are eliminated and that they're able to achieve their success. Your particular work is admirable. It contributes to advancing several important causes, including addressing gaps in gender, in the area of health and mental health and gender-based violence, and giving support to child welfare, because truly they are our future. So thank you once again for the opportunity to be here. We celebrate Canada. I have to say, of all the places to be a woman, perhaps Canada is one of the best, but we do have more work to do. And more recently, I think we've all been reminded, as great a place as Canada is, we've also had some very dark chapters in our history, and we need to reconcile, tell the truth, and heal. And I know that women will be at the forefront of that process. And so continue your great work. And again, I'm inspired by groups like yours and women across this country who are making a difference, and indeed making Canada a better place. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mayor. That was incredible. And thank you for reminding us about the very important role that women play in supporting our nation despite all the challenges that they go through. So thank you so much. I'm going to hand it over to Nikki for our next segment.
All right, and you know I'm not one to disappoint, Simi. So Mayor Scarpitti, you asked for it. So up next are those messages that we promised you from the few member of parliaments, and we'll just go ahead and cue up the video. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Philomena Tassi, Member of Parliament for Hamilton West Ancaster Dundas and Canada's Minister of Labour. Canada means so much to me. I love our country deeply. We are very fortunate to live in a country in which the values of hard work, honesty, personal enterprise, equal opportunity, and mutual support are put first. When Canadians identify a problem, they set about to fix it together. In my case, as Minister of Labour, I'm focused on making sure that every Canadian can work in a safe, healthy, and inclusive workplace. Our country is far from perfect, but I am so proud to see Canadians working together to improve it and make it an even better place to live and work. These are some of the things Canada means to me.
Hello everyone, it's MP Maninder Sidhu, your Federal Member of Parliament for Brampton East, wishing you and your families a very happy, healthy, and safe Canada Day. We have been through a lot together this past year, from dealing with the hardships brought on by the pandemic to making countless sacrifices to keep our loved ones safe. Our federal government has delivered over 40 million doses across Canada, with millions more arriving every week. Through the hard work of so many on the front lines, Canada is at the top amongst G20 and G7 countries for a percentage of our population receiving their first dose, and our second dose numbers are growing daily. This is an incredible achievement by Canadians from coast to coast to coast. We can't stop here, and we need to continue reminding our family and our friends and neighbors to get their vaccine. Canada is a place where we are known to celebrate our differences, because diversity is what makes this country stronger and more beautiful. For today, we can celebrate something that we all have in common, and that is calling Canada our home. Our home is a place where injustice and hate do not belong in our communities. Our home is a place where love, equality, and compassion for others are values we should always remember to uphold. We must continue to build the roads and bridges that connect us together to further the prosperity of every generation to grow. As you get outdoors for Canada Day and enjoy the summer weather, please remember to follow public health guidelines. From my family to yours, a very happy Canada Day.
Thank you to Women Focus Canada for this wonderful Canada Day video. What does Canada mean to me? Canada is a country of hope. It's a country where we can all be ourselves, where we can contribute to our maximum potential. It's a country where we know that if our neighbors do well, we all do well, where we all pull together and we build on each other's strengths. We understand that we're stronger because of our differences. And when we face challenges, whether it's the pandemic or climate change or racism and xenophobia, we know that we are able to overcome it only by coming together as a community. Canada is a country founded on values of equality, of peace, justice, human rights, and freedom. Canada is the best country in the world.
Happy Canada Day. I extend my warm greetings and best wishes to the members of the Women Focus Canada and the individual and families they help. My name is Salma Zahid. I'm the Member of Parliament for Scarborough Centre. Thank you for inviting me to say a few words during your Canada Day virtual celebration. Canada means many different things to different people. For me, Canada is not just a place, it is the giant community. We are made up of vibrant, dynamic, compassionate people from various religious backgrounds, ethnicities, ideology, persuasions, and orientation, striving to come together to build a better future for our future generations. Yes, it has some challenges, but this diversity is also one of our biggest strengths. So let's celebrate Canada. Happy Canada Day.
Fantastic messages from our leaders, and love to see the diversity and also the diverse aspects in terms of Canada as well. I'll hand it off to my partner, Simi.
Thanks, Nikki. You know, something that I couldn't help noticing was the diversity in the dressing style. And, you know, everybody brought their best foot forward. We got Mira Scarpitti with the snazzy jacket. We got Dr. Remy with her beautiful cultural clothes. That just reminds me of how diverse Canada is and how beautiful it all looks when we're putting our best foot forward.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Amazing. So our next speaker is Moyosore Shomide. Shomide is licensed to practice law in the province of Ontario and also in Nigeria. She got called to the Nigerian bar in 2016 at the age of 21 and the Ontario bar in 2019 at the age of 23. She articled at the City Solicitor's Office in the City of London in Ontario. And she is also very passionate about wrongful convictions, particularly in Nigeria. Her most recent passion is to help internationally trained lawyers cross the hurdle of getting licensed in Canada. Moyosore, welcome to our event today.
Hello everyone, I hope you are having a fantastic day. Happy Canada Day. My name is Moyosore Shomide and I am a lawyer. I act as one of the lawyers for the City of London, Ontario. And I want to thank the leadership of Women Focus Canada for convening this event and for giving me an opportunity to speak on this platform. Almost 5 years ago, I moved to Canada with several dreams and aspirations. I was young, I was only 20 at the time, and I wasn't thinking about all the hurdles I would have had to cross in order for me to achieve my dreams. I have had to watch the shocking expression on people's faces whenever I tell them I'm a lawyer, just because they don't believe that someone like me can fill that type of role. I've had to endure annoying comments like, "Oh, you speak very good English," for someone who is from Africa, or "How did you learn how to speak English?" There was a time when I was in court addressing this gentleman, and while I was addressing him, he asked to speak with one of the prosecutors. I told him that I am a prosecutor and he could speak with me, but he insisted to speak with another prosecutor. Of course, he didn't believe that the only Black lawyer in that room could be a prosecutor. I've been told several times to go back to Africa because no one will hire me as their lawyer because my accent is different and I just don't have what it takes to make it in this space. But instead of taking offense at these comments, I have allowed these comments to motivate me into achieving my dreams and not settling for less. And I have also used this moment as an opportunity to educate the people who are making this comment so that they know better. And they also put aside their bias and they can give opportunities to the people that look like me.
Thank you so much, Moyosore. Just wanted to confirm after that incredible video, is there anything else you'd like to add, or perhaps we can save all of our burning questions for the Q&A?
I'd just like to wish everyone a happy Canada Day, and also once again thank the leadership of Women Focus Canada for putting together this incredible event.
Incredible, thank you. And thank you for serving as such an incredible example and as a role model for so many young Canadians to have accomplished so much at such an early age across different countries is remarkable. And I know I definitely have some questions about the secret to your success and overcoming adversity that I would love to ask you at the end. And just a reminder for everybody that Moyosore has been kind enough to stay until the Q&A session, so please type in your questions in the box. Over to you, Nikki.
Thank you, Simi. So next we have a message from Penny Tremblay. Penny is a genuine entrepreneur and founder of the Tremblay Leadership Center. With an advanced With an advanced mediation certificate from Harvard, combined with years of facilitating conflict resolution in the workplace, Penny has provided relationship strategies, training, and keynotes internationally for over 20 years. Through the Tremblay Leadership Center, clients have gained the skills and confidence to be productive and also to play nice in the sandbox and climb the ladder of success. Penny, over to you.
Ani Boju, Pepecho Nindigena Cause, Mayangan Dotem. Robin is a spirit name gifted to me by Cree elders in British Columbia. Wolf Clan is a place of belonging, earned as one who walks with the Anishinaabe people from elders in northwestern Ontario. Hello, I'm Penny Tremblay, founder of the Tremblay Leadership Center and the Sandbox System. I teach people how to play nice in the sandbox at work, and when they don't, I help them fix broken relationships. Most importantly, I'm a woman, a mom, and a spirited entrepreneur. Having been asked by Dr. Remy Adwale to join this talented and prestigious group of women speakers today in support of Women Focus Canada, I find myself unusually lost for words. The annual celebration of Canada Day is quickly approaching, yet the Canadian flags are flying half-mast in recognition of the mental, physical, and sexual abuse and death of our country's Indigenous children. With a total of 966 unmarked graves found at the residential schools in Kamloops and Regina, today, I find myself, an inspirational speaker, at a loss for words. I'm born in Canada, raised Catholic, and white privileged. Last year, the death of George Floyd became the straw that broke the camel's back for the Black Lives Matter movement. It was only then that I began to realize what white privilege really meant. Recently, I further understood what it meant when Scott McLeod, chief of Nipissing First Nation, shared on a social media post that understanding what white privilege meant was sending your kids to school and having them return. Today, I contemplate, how can we celebrate our country during this time of discovery, of proof of the horrible truth? How can I, as a Canadian Catholic woman, fulfill my duty and speak to honor Canada today in light of a conflict within me that runs through my blood and my soul? Even as an inspirational speaker, I'm searching for words right now to soothe, to empathize, to share compassion with, to learn, and to help others find words. And so I remind myself of a couple of my own mantras that I repeat time and time again to help others work through conflict. These mantras are: seek to understand, find compassion, and choose high thoughts. Let's start with seek to understand. You cannot solve a set of circumstances that you do not understand. Our Creator gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. The symbolism here is to listen twice as much as you speak. If you're wondering what to say to an Indigenous person during this difficult time, just invite them to talk about whatever it is they want to share. You could simply ask them how they're feeling right now, or what life is like being Anishinaabe. In the Indigenous culture, you do not interrupt an elder, no matter how long they speak, how long your meeting agenda is being set back, or how much you think what you have to say is more important. It's an exercise in listening, in sitting still, in allowing storytelling to be story receiving, and in respect. Seeking to understand is not always about having an agenda of your own, but allowing someone to have the message, and your intention is only to seek to understand it. When they're finished talking, restate what you heard. You don't need to defend, apologize, or fix anything. Just let their words in. Hear them, feel them. Try to put yourself in their shoes to empathize as they're telling their stories. The second point, find compassion. The one thing I've learned teaching adults about compassion is that most people don't understand what compassion really means. Compassion is not empathy or taking action like acts of kindness or fixing things. Let's break down the word compassion. Com is a prefix that means community, and passion is a strong feeling about something. Compassion then means a communal sharing of a strong feeling. The dictionary defines compassion as concern for the suffering or misfortunes of others. So feeling compassion does not require fixing, defending, or apologizing. Taking action toward reconciliation could include apologizing, showing kindness, or other acts of doing something. However, first off, let's just master compassion. I'll tell you my version of a story that's been told for centuries to teach compassion. One day, a trusting Indigenous mom sent her young, beautiful 5-year-old Indigenous daughter to school. Over an hour after her expected return, the mother became worried that something had happened to her daughter. When her daughter finally returned, the worried mom sternly said, "Where have you been? I've been worried about your safety because you're so late returning." The young Indigenous girl responded that on the way home from school, she met a girl whose dolly had dropped and broken. The mother responded, hoping to understand. "Oh, I understand. You stopped to help her fix her dolly." To which the young girl responded, "No, Mom, I just stopped to help her cry." This story has always provided a good understanding of the feeling of compassion. Today, it also provides an example of how our Indigenous parents could have felt relief when their children were privileged enough to return home from school. We can all find compassion by listening and sharing in the strong feelings being felt across our beautiful country at this time. There is so much about Canada to celebrate, but we must be willing to choose high thoughts. Each and every one of us can make a difference by shifting our thinking. Think about the potential for reconciliation in this country. What does that look like to you? What does reconciliation feel like for you? And what can you do starting today to choose thoughts that produce action toward creating an inclusive culture in Canada for our First People, our newcomers, and to foster rich relationships that can be leveraged for a more diverse nation? Canada, its federal and provincial governments have been very generous to me. This beautiful country has provided me with the opportunity to have built a solid business over the past 3 decades, which helps people resolve conflict, provides leadership training to entire teams, as well as manager and supervisory skills to help lead corporate planning strategy and hold people accountable for their goals and commitments. One nonprofit that I serve, Pero, has helped over 22,000 women-owned businesses benefit from over $7.7 million in grant money. Canada is rich. There's abundance for all. We all deserve equal privileges, and I am committed to serving my country with special interest in rebuilding relationships and capacity in our First People, First Nation, Indigenous communities. This work is very dear to my heart, and I feel valuable knowing that I'm doing my part for reconciliation. One more quick story. It was an interview of a couple married for 75 years. Someone asked the wife what her secret was to staying married for so long. She said, "In our days, when something was broken, we fixed it. We didn't just throw it in the garbage." Well, I've never forgotten that message. Perhaps I heard it too late in my own life. But in my work as an expert in conflict resolution, I have learned that there are no wasted relationships as long as we are learning the lessons. So let's learn the lessons from this truth of Canada today. Let's embrace the truth as a conflict that we together as Canadians can move through. I always say there's only one way through conflict, and that is through it. You can't go over it or under it or around it or sweep it under the carpet. We can't bury conflict. We can move through it with honest, authentic conversation and create new commitments. So let's stand united with one intention, to learn from this time. Let's create one great big sandcastle of a nation on the foundation of understanding one another, on compassion, and on choosing good thoughts that will shape better days and better ways ahead. 154 years as a country, a diverse population to learn from each other, and fertile ground for growth in business, in status, and as a nation. Think of this Canada Day as a birthday or anniversary with a loved one. Even though a human we love isn't perfect, we still celebrate their birthday and wish them more good years. Even though a marriage isn't problem-free, we still celebrate the years as they pass with special recognition of the anniversary. In my own spiritual journey, one of the nuggets that I have learned is that it's okay to feel two emotions about the same circumstance. Today, I'm feeling and sharing the conflict of mixed emotions with you. I'm feeling sorrow and pride for my Canadian heritage, yet I'm here to inspire all participants to rise up to the challenge of seeking to understand and feeling compassion for a country in mourning, yet a country so full of opportunity and potential for all. I aspire to help Canadians, especially women in business and youth, our next caregivers of this planet, find the right words to build rich relationships that will help them be productive and peaceful, as well as earn a great profit. Many times I've told my fellow Canadians to be mindful of the high competition and strong work ethic demonstrated by those immigrating to Canada. They're willing to work very long and hard to build a life. So be not afraid of talking about uncomfortable things when you really believe that change needs to happen. Earlier, I said that George Floyd was like the straw that broke the camel's back when it came to Black Lives Matter. Well, as of today, there are about 966 Indigenous children's lives that have been like straws that break the camel's back to help really crack this situation open and help us as Canadians really understand the importance of working together to reconcile Canada. Thank you very much. I'm Penny Tremblay from the Tremblay Leadership Center, founder of the Sandbox System, and very honored to have a few minutes to join Remy and Women Focus Canada today to celebrate.
Wow. Thank you so much, Penny. I don't think I want to add anything else to that message. Because I think it was powerful in itself. And I do want to encourage every single person, panelist, audience, to take some time to reflect on what Penny mentioned. And I will leave it at that. There will be a video, I imagine, that's available. So again, I do want to encourage everyone to reflect on that. And I'm not going to add any more. I want that to sit with everybody. Penny?
Thanks, Nikki. It is with great pleasure that I introduce our next speaker, Sonia Sidhu. Sonia is the Member of Parliament for Brampton South. Sonia was first elected on October 19th in 2015, and she has worked very closely with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to grow our middle class, make life more affordable for families, and build a better future for everyone in our community. Sonia sits on the House of Commons Standing Committee on Health, and she is also the Vice Chair of the Standing Committee on the Status of Women. Sonia has distinguished herself in Parliament as someone focused on strong representation for her constituents, for protecting people's health, and for making life better for newcomers to Canada. Sonia lives in her riding of Brampton South with her husband Gurjit, twin daughters Arshia and Amrit, and her son Akash. Welcome, Sonia.
Thank you, Simi. Thank you, Rami, Dr. Adewale. Thank you for inviting me. Penny, what a powerful speech. Thank you very much. First of all, today, I'm really very grateful. Women Focus Group, thank you for inviting me. As Simi said, I'm Sonia Sidhu, Member of Parliament from Brampton South. I'm joining you today from the traditional territory of the Mississauga of the Credit, and I would like to say that my thoughts have been with the Indigenous people, kids. My heart goes to them and all those who have been affected by the tragic discoveries at residential schools in recent weeks. I thank the organizing committee for organizing this beautiful event where everyone can speak with the emotions, with the heart. Thank you so much. Presently, Parliament has the highest number of women ever in the history. And in December, the Senate became the first gender-balanced legislative house in Canada. However, women still only make up 29% of the total members of Parliament, and women of color make up far less. I'm sure many of you can relate to feeling a personal responsibility to use your platform to uplift others in your community. Today, I'm a proud member of the Standing Committee on Health, where we can discuss minority women's right, minority women's what problems they are facing, and as well as a vice chair of Standing Committee of the Status of Women. In that committee, we also we can discuss what type of the problems women facing. So it is very important to discuss because when women thrives, society thrives. I have been a lifelong advocate for people living with the diabetes and have been able to amplify those voices in my role as the chair of All Party Diabetes Caucus as well. And in the Status of Women Committee, I have heard firsthand about the challenges Canadian women are facing, those who have faced job losses, reduced hours of work, and even violence, domestic violence. Since this session of Parliament began in the fall, this committee has already completed studies of 6 issues important to women across Canada. We have heard about how the pandemic has distinctly affected women, especially how the jobs most impacted were overwhelmingly filled by women in industries like retail, food service, cleaning, and hospitality. And on the front line, wherever women, they do care about seniors at home. They also need to take care of the seniors. They also need to take care of their kids. We also study the important work that women perform in society that is unpaid, like serving as full-time caregivers to family members, and how this work not being properly recognized leads to great financial and emotional strain. We learned about the unique challenges faced by women in rural and remote communities, including access to support services and the increasing need of high-speed internet services. Because in the pandemic, we see everything goes like Zoom calls. And if you don't have high-speed internet, it is really hard for them. How can they make their voice loud? Which has been very illuminating of us and members who are from more urban communities. We learned about the state of midwife services and the important role they play in delivering culturally sensitive healthcare and how they also serve more remote communities. One thing that we repeatedly heard throughout several of these studies was the important role that childcare plays in the path of improving the status of women. By all accounts, it is something that we need more of in Canada and would not only empower women to enter the workforce, but it would strengthen our economy overall. If there's a childcare is there, they can afford that, and women can do a lot more. This is why Budget 2021 proposes a 50% reduction in average fee for regulated early learning and childcare in all provinces outside of Quebec, where prices are already affordable by the end of 2022, as well as a nationwide $10 a day quality childcare within the next 5 years. These investments will work to support parents, especially women, while creating employment opportunities for childcare workers, 95% of whom are women. We are all very lucky to have Deputy Prime Minister Christopher, our first female finance minister, leading our economic recovery when women are in equal positions of authority and decision making. It better serves all Canadians. In March, our government announced that she would be leading the task force on women in the economy, comprised of 20 other leading women in business, academia, labor, and community service with the goal of ensuring that our recovery is feminist and intersectional. This built on past work we have done to ensure the success of women. In 2018, we passed a Pay Equity Act, which, when fully implemented, will ensure that work of equal values earn equal wages in federally regulated industries. I also served on that special committee that studied and created this legislation. Another accomplishment of which I'm very proud for women. We also required all publicly traded corporation to disclose the diversity of their boards and senior management, and challenged all Canadian organizations to the 50-30 challenge, a goal of achieving that gender parity 30% representation for other underrepresented groups in these senior positions in order to build a more diverse, inclusive, and equitable economic future for all Canadians. These are just some of the initiatives our government is working on to help women. Our government will be introducing a national action plan on gender-based violence with the focus on ensuring that anyone facing gender-based violence has reliable and timely access to protection and services. We are working to implement the calls for justice from the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. We are accelerating the Women Entrepreneur Strategy in order to increase women-owned businesses, access to the financing and expertise they need, and address the disproportionate impact of the COVID-19 economic crisis on women business owners. And we will continue to support community action to tackle systemic barriers, impeding women's progress while recognizing and addressing the diverse experiences of gender and inequality across the country. Having more women in Parliament has been an asset in understanding their needs, particularly during and after the pandemic. And I know we all hope to eventually reach gender parity and a House that is not just reflective of men and women, but the diversity of the whole nation. Diversity is truly one of our greatest strengths and was a driving force behind my private member's bill, an act to establish a national framework of diabetes, which passed just last week. 11 million Canadians currently live with diabetes or pre-diabetes. However, like many issues that WFC tackles, certain communities are disproportionately affected. Diabetes particularly impacts people of color, as well as newcomer, South Asian communities, and Indigenous communities. This audience represents the face of Canada, people of all walks of life, ethnicities, and background, united in a common goal. Each and every one of you is here because you are a leader, and you have made an impact in Canada and worldwide. As we approach Canada Day, I want to commend all of you for your hard work, as well as acknowledge how lucky we are to live in Canada, full of talented and dedicated people like yourself. Thank you again for having me speak today. Take care of yourself, get vaccinated, and hold on tight to your passion. I hope everyone has a safe and happy Canada Day next week. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for those words and for reminding us that as we emerge from the pandemic, we have to be cognizant that, not everybody went through the pandemic to the same way, and there are major differences based on socioeconomic status, such as being a woman, working from home, or essential workers, and that we should be cognizant of this and talk about how we can address these challenges. I also want to remind our audience that we do have a question and answer box, so please feel free as we go through the different speakers to put your questions there. And although Sonia will not be joining us for the Q&A session, if any of her ideas sparked any thoughts or questions, please to put them in our chat box. Nikki, over to you.
I'm curious, is Sonia still with us? I think Sonia, one of our organizers, our tech support. Are we getting questions through the through our Q&A? Do we have lots of curious folks in our audience?
Yes, let's chime in Kemi. She's been managing the Q&A.
Fantastic, fantastic. So Kemi, do we have a lot of questions?
Yes, we have quite a number of questions and we've compiled it. So it's on the
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, keep them coming in. Be curious, ask for clarity. You know, when else will you have the magnitude of folks on one call? So please keep those questions coming. All right. Okay, so next, we'd like to share another presentation with you from Bharatanatyam. Bharatanatyam is a major form of Indian classical dance that uses music to communicate emotions through hand, feet, and eye movements. This rendition depicts Lord Shiva, who is the king of all dancers and also the patron god of yoga, meditation, and art. This piece is performed by students of Sri Sankriti Dance Academy and choreographed by the Academy's artistic choreographer, Prabha Raghavan. All right, let's cue up that video.
Shiva Shankara Hara Hara Shankara Jaya Jaya Shankara Digirara Priyatandama Shankara Prakata Shubhankara Pranaya Bhayankara Digirara Shiva Shiva Shankara Hara Hara Shankara Jaya Jaya Shankara Digirara Priyatandama Shankara Prakata Shubhankara Pranaya Bhayankara Digirara Om Parameshwara Para Om Nikhileshwara Hara Om Jiveshwareshwara Kararara Om Mantreshwara Swara Om Yantreshwara Stira Om Tantreshwara Varanavera Shiva Shiva Shankara Hara Hara Shankara Jaya Jaya Shankara Digirara Priyatandama Shankara Prakata Shubhankara Pranaya Bhayankara Digirara విశ్వేశలింగమై కనికరించరా విధి లిఖితమునిక పరపర పర జరిపి అమృతమి కురిపించరా రామేశలింగమై మహిమ చూపరా పలు శుభములగని అభయముని లిఖితము సతతము అందించరా గ్రహణం నిధనం పాపరాకాళ హస్తిలింగేశ్వర ప్రాణం నీవై ఆలింగనం మీరా జలలో కొలువై హర హర ఆత్మలింగమై నిలబడరా తుదివై గతివై సర్వజీవలోకేశ్వర రక్షించరా శివ శివ శంకర హర హర శంకర జయ జయ శంకర దిగిరారా ప్రియతాండవ శంకర ప్రకట శుభంకర ప్రణయ భయంకర దిగిరారా శివ శివ హర హర జయ జయ దిగిరారా ప్రియతాండవ శంకర ప్రకట శుభంకర ప్రణయ భయంకర దిగిరారా
Wow, I was busy dancing there, and I hope you didn't catch the tail end of that. But again, a big and a huge thank you to the Sri Sanskriti Dance Academy for that lovely presentation. They do have a Facebook page, and we can actually put that on Facebook, so please check them out. And they also have a website, and we will post that in the chat, so support them. Great presentation by, and they're just students actually, so great presentation, as well as choreography by Prabha Raghavan. Over to you, Simi.
Thanks, Nikki. Maybe you can share some of your dance moves with me next time, because I don't have the hand-eye coordination.
I gotta tell you, since the pandemic, I don't even know if I can move that fast anymore, but I'll look into it.
I think we should book some lessons from these students. These ladies were killing it.
Absolutely.
Great. So our next speaker is Miss Pamela O'Donnell. Pamela O'Donnell joined Canada's Foreign Service in 1993 when she was appointed as High Commissioner of Canada to Tanzania, Zambia, and Seychelles, and Ambassador to Comoros in October 2018. Overseas, Ms. O'Donnell has served in Kuala Lumpur as a Trade Commissioner, in Athens as the Political and Public Affairs Counselor, and in Ecuador as Canada's Ambassador. She has worked on issues she is passionate about, mainly peace and the environment. She has also served twice as a director in Canada's Peace and Stabilization Program, most recently responsible for programming for about $250 million to support peace in conflict zones.
Very warm Canada Day greetings from Dar es Salaam. My name is Pamela O'Donnell, and I'm Canada's High Commissioner to Tanzania, Seychelles, and Zambia, and Ambassador to Comoros. I'm absolutely delighted to take part in Women Focus Canada's National Day event with the theme of Canada Today, Growth and Diversity. I understand that the primary mandate of WFC is improving the health, well-being, and social economic development of women and girls globally. These are issues near to my heart and very central to Canada's work in Africa. In Tanzania, gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls is at the center of our international assistance. We work to close persistent gaps in sexual and reproductive health and rights and nutrition for women and girls, improve access to primary and secondary education for an increasing number of girls and boys, and enable women's inclusion in the economic life of Tanzania. I'm particularly proud of our work with Canada's Women's Voice and Leadership Initiative, which supports women's organizations to build coalitions and ensure their voices are heard by policymakers. In addition, we have used our small grants fund, the Canada Fund for Local Initiatives, to support leadership training for women working in the media sector, to increase community awareness of women's property rights, which enables their economic independence, and to support civil society engagement in the elaboration of Tanzania's first Women, Peace and Security National Action Plan. In Zambia, Canada is partnering with the Zambia Police Services to enhance the role of uniformed women peacekeepers in UN and African Union peacekeeping missions. Zambia is already a demonstrated leader in deployment of women police officers, far exceeding global averages. Canada and Zambia also work together to advance gender equality on the world stage. For example, Zambia and Canada co-lead the UN resolution on ending child marriage. Together, we are committed to ensuring better futures for women and girls. Indeed, in all areas of our engagement with Zambia, whether support for COVID efforts, promoting human rights, or improving sexual and reproductive health rights, gender is an unwavering cornerstone of our partnership. In Comoros, we have funded projects using the Canada Fund for Local Initiatives to support women's literacy, including financial literacy, to increase their entrepreneurial capacity. Last year, we also worked with the UN to support the government's response to COVID, and particularly the impact the pandemic was having on women and children, including the prevalence of sexual and gender-based violence. I was also asked to share a personal perspective on being a professional and in demonstrating resilience during these challenging times. I believe it is important to make time for the things you love, apart from work. In my case, I play sports when it is possible, volunteer at the local dog shelter, and coach Tanzanian girls at basketball camps. This allows me to build confidence and leadership skills in the young athletes, and they inspire me with their enthusiasm and dedication. It helps keep all of us motivated and particularly active, which are essential tools for maintaining mental health during a public health crisis. Our world will continuously improve with more women decision makers at the table, whether in politics, private sector, health, education, or any other area. While representing Canada and Africa, I understand that that we need to make our own voices heard and to create opportunities for other women, for the women leaders of tomorrow. This is a passion I share with WFC, and it makes me particularly pleased to address you here today. Thank you for your attention. I wish every one of you a very happy Canada Day and a great year ahead. Asante.
A big thank you to Ms. O'Donnell for sharing that message all the way from Tanzania, where I imagine it must be winter time, but probably not as cold as the weather here in Toronto. But of course, as Canadians, we are used to the cold, even in the summertime. Nikki, over to you.
All righty, Simi. Somebody once told me that laughter is the best medicine. So it is with absolute great excitement that I introduce our next speaker, Alice Rose. Alice Rose is a transgender comic fueled by third wave coffee and estradiol. A storyteller at heart, Alice combines introspective personal narratives with larger observations to create an intimate comedy experience. Alice is also the creator of Comic Sans Productions, Canada's first and only production company and comedy talent agency to promote exclusively LGBTQ+ performance artists. As the world begins to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, Alice is busy preparing for an upcoming Western Canada tour to promote her first album, due to be released early 2022. Alice, over to you.
Hi, everyone. I just want to make sure you can hear me. I can be heard? Perfect. Thank you all so much for having me. My name is Alice Rose, and I'm a comedian and producer and the creator of Comic Sans Productions, which is an inclusive and accessible comedy productions company that focuses on promoting and uplifting the voices and the talents of LGBTQ, feminist, and marginalized comedy performers across Canada. As a transgender person, I'm honored to be included in this space among such strong, influential women. And as someone who tells dick jokes for a living, I feel really fortunate to be included among such a wonderful group of professionals. It's a first for me, and I'm very pleased. For me, comedy is about more than just telling jokes, but using humor as a tool for continuing my work in advocacy and community building. So I'm elated to have been given this unique opportunity to combine these two passions of mine. And before I start, because I believe that laughter, sorry, I'm just starting a timer because I don't want to get too ahead of myself here and take up too much time because I have a lot to say. But before I start, I truly believe that laughter is a powerfully unifying tool, and it would mean a lot to me if you join me to share a few laughs with me. So if you're comfortable doing so, I'd like to welcome you all to turn on your microphones. Of course, if you're wearing headphones and you're in a quiet space so you're not interrupting and distracting from the speech, but please, I'd like to join you to turn on your microphones so that we can all hear each other laugh. I'm here to share some of my experiences with you. As someone like me, it's not always easy to go out into the world every day looking, frankly, like a lesbian porn parody Tina Fey, a Les Lemon, if you will, let alone to get up on stage in front of drunken strangers when I know all they're doing is wondering if I still have a penis between my legs. And to clarify, not that it's anyone's business, but I have a penis between my butt cheeks because I'm a lady, damn it. Being transgender is difficult because gender is everywhere in our society. Everything is marketed according to gender, from deodorants to razors to even cars. The most absurd example of this is in the beginning of the pandemic. Do you remember when toilet paper had those shortages? Well, I thought a little ahead and I bought a bidet. Work smart, not hard, ladies. And when it arrived, I noticed it had this little dial on it that adjusts the angle of the stream from the back to the front. And the front angle was labeled women's mode. Why do they have to use such reductive language? After all, not all women have vaginas, and not everyone with vaginas is a woman. So being the second generation Karen that I am, I decided to call the company to inquire. Turns out it was initially labeled the anatomically correct vagina mode, but they had to recall the product due to a class action lawsuit from all the confused men who injured themselves trying to have sex with it. Another wonderful thing about being trans is that you get to choose your own name. And I don't know if you know this, but literally anyone can do this. You can legally change your name to anything you want, and everyone is obligated to call you that. So I want to ask all of the cisgender people in this audience, in a world where you can be Anastasia Tiberius Middle Fingers, are you really just happy settling for Tyler? In the beginning of the pandemic, I started seeing a therapist. Okay, we're keeping it casual. I know, like $120 an hour, and they don't want to put labels on it. One thing my therapist and I are currently working on is resolving a disturbing recurring sex dream I've had ever since I watched the movie Tiger King. And that's really puzzling because I do identify as a lesbian and a feminist, but I guess there's still some small part inside of me that believes that one day I'll still grow up to feed my husband to a tiger. We've also been doing something called parts work, and it's very similar to understanding and getting to know sort of the spirits inside of you. In Indigenous cultures, we actually have a long history of recognizing the diversity of gender identities. These identities fall under the umbrella term of two-spirit, meaning that all people have the spirits of their ancestors inside of them, and some of us hold the spirits of two genders. And this is a really interesting concept to me because in my struggles with mental illness, particularly in the last year, I've learned to use this concept as a way to approach my imposter syndrome. I try to imagine my imposter syndrome like a little cartoon angel and devil on my shoulder, but they're narcissism and crippling self-doubt. It's like that game Bang, Marry, Kill, but the answers are all me, and no, still Donald Trump. As a live performance artist, it's increasingly difficult for me to navigate this new life in a post-Tiger King society, as I'm sure we all are familiar with. As time went on, it started to feel more and more like a forced retirement almost. Like, is this what my later years are going to be like? Is this what I have to look forward to? I'm on a fixed income. I hardly ever leave the house. And my only real purpose in life is complaining into my phone from my bedroom about the way things used to be. Sometimes as a coping mechanism, I like to pretend that I'm actually an 87-year-old woman with Alzheimer's. And this whole pandemic is just my own way of rationalizing the world around me. And let's be honest, using a global virus as an excuse for why nobody invites me to family dinners anymore is far easier than the truth. In preparation for this meeting, I was asked to consider what Canada means to me. And as I'm sure we can all sympathize, considering the recent news, this has been an increasingly difficult task, answering that question, especially since my girlfriend made me promise not to soapbox too much today. I must admit, however, that it's not easy to articulate exactly how I feel about what Canada means to me, especially in times that call so strongly for reconciliation, as we're still struggling to face our genocidal past and the racialized colonial systems that still prevail across our country. As a nation, we're far from perfect, but despite our imperfections, I believe that Canada is still a place of great potential. Potential to reconcile our past and empower our marginalized communities. Potential towards a pluralist government that centers on Indigenous co-governance and the land back movement. As a fourth-generation Canadian myself, who has explored every part of this vast land, I stand in front of you today to admit that I'm not proud to be Canadian. However, I still do see potential everywhere. The potential to actually live up to the reputation we boast on the international stage that leads us to claim this just doesn't happen every time a community is displaced, a child torn from their mother arms, or a family murdered in the street for their religious beliefs. The potential to let someone like me, a transgender comedian with a big mouth, share her weird stories and outlandish perspectives with the world. The potential to celebrate and embrace stories like mine. For me, Canada is still that place of potential to apologize and make amends for our past, come to terms with the problems of our present, and work towards a future where a success story like mine is not simply the exception to the rule. It's even more difficult for me, having recently learned of my own ancestry. I took a 23andMe test. You know, that's that little service where you send in a little cheek swab, and then they reveal to you exactly how racist you actually are. It really gets into that internalized racism. I discovered that I have Indigenous Mi'kmaq heritage, but we never spoke of this ancestry because of all of the shame and internalized racism surrounding Indigenous cultures at the time. And racism was especially strong in Newfoundland, where my family is from. In fact, Newfoundland erased their Indigenous history so thoroughly that the only thing that remains of Indigenous culture on the island that I can see is consistently being half an hour late for everything. That's a time zone joke. I hope you got it. Now, I know that last joke is a little bit racist, but I'd like to remind you that I am 1/16th Indigenous, which means I can say that. I just have to throw out the other 15 racially insensitive jokes I wrote for this presentation. And thank you, that's all my time. Thanks for listening to my ridiculous leanings and letting me perform for you today.
This is what I have for you, Alice. Thank you so much for providing that comedy relief. But also, what you hinted there is around us interrogating ourselves, right? Because even as people of color, I think, we can't deny that we also sort of embody or hold on to white supremacist ideas. So interrogating ourselves, fearlessly, especially as we're moving towards truth and reconciliation. Everyone, before we move on, first of all, again, a big thank you to Alice. And to learn more about Alice or for updates and events, please visit aliceroselaughs.com. We will also post that into the chat. Again, thank you so very much, Alice. Over to you, Simi.
Thank you, Nikki, and thank you, Alice. So our next speaker that we were hoping to present to you was Daniel Seal. Daniel is a senior communications manager at the National Gallery of Canada with decades-long experience in strategic communications, stakeholder relations, and civic engagement. Unfortunately, Daniel is unable to join us today, but please join us in sending our best regards to Daniel. And now I will hand it back to Nikki.
Thank you, Simi. Okay, so next I have the absolute pleasure of actually presenting a few messages from members of our global community. So without further ado, let it roll.
What does Canada mean to me? Canada is a great country. Canada is a place of limitless promise, a place of growth and prosperity. Canada is a culturally diverse country. It is one of the most diverse countries in the world, and our diversity is our strength. Canada is one of the remarkable countries in the world and the place I call home. Congratulations to you, Canada, and happy Canada's Day to you all.
Hello. Canada means to me a place where I was able to raise my children, and I look forward to making it even better to raise my grandchildren. Happy Canada Day! Thank you.
Hello, good everyone. My name is Olaseni Daiwomi. I'm so pleased to wish all of you happy Canada Day. Canada is a wonderful country, a diversified country, a beautiful country with diverse weather and diverse people. It's a peaceful country. It's a lovely country. It's a country to be celebrated. I'm so happy to join all of you for celebrating 2021 Canada Day. Happy Canada Day to you all. God bless you. Bye.
Greetings everyone. I hope we are all well. I am Chipego Mwemba from Zambia. I hope we are following the COVID-19 guidelines as prescribed by the World Health Organization. What does Canada mean to me? Canada means to me as home. Canada means to me as a land of loving people. Canada means to me as a country with plenty of opportunity for development and growth. Particularly, Canada plays an important role in the development and advancement of Africa. I am happy to be part and parcel of the celebration of Canada Day, and I wish the people of Canada a happy Canada Day as they celebrate this day. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Yusa. I originally came from Bangkok, Thailand, and I have been living in Naga regions for 10 years. What Canada means to me? Canada is allowing me to gather all my hopes, grow my dreams, and make it happen. I feel secure, I feel safe, and I feel the caring from people around me. It's really a good place for me to live in and live on. Thank you, Canada. Love you.
I'm Dr. Fazia Alvi. To me, Canada is home, safety, and equality. As Canadians, we can do better.
What Canada means to me? Well, I love the mixture of all nationalities, all about diverse, accepting everyone, all religions, seeing how different identities can come together, work together in harmony. And I think Canada sets up the example for nations that aren't as accepting nationalities or religions. And I also feel blessed by having this nature around me. I've been a lot of places in the world, and I think Canada by far has some of the beautiful nature that are earthy-like in that sense, and I really appreciated having that beautiful nature around me.
I think the best way is for me to show you. You see that path behind me? It goes on for another 6 kilometers. And I walk this path 3 times a week. I don't feel afraid. I don't feel someone is going to jump me. And there is no rich person who is going to take over this land for themselves and build their property right on it. So, what does Canada mean to me? For me, Canada is a place of growth. It's a place of safety. It's a place where I can thrive, and you can too. It's a place where you can hear people and be heard. Canada is a place that provides opportunity for growth. Canada is a place where you can find a community, be part of it, be who you need to be. And that's what Canada means to me. Hi, I'm Segun Olude. Thank you.
Wow. Great to hear from our global community. Again, as we're leading up to July 1st, again, great to have people share. I wonder if folks can still share their messages through Facebook or sending videos to WFC, but I'm sure that you'll get more information on the chat. And I will pass this over on to you, Simi.
Thank you so much. So I am feeling a little bit bittersweet right now because I am going to be introducing our last speaker, and I'm happy because we get to hear from her, but I'm also sad because it means we're coming towards the end. But nonetheless, I would like to introduce to you to Nivata Balendra. Nivata is the CEO and founder of Dispersa, a clean tech startup delivering natural alternatives to synthetic chemicals with a focus on surfactants. Her work has gathered numerous scientific awards, including the inaugural World Economic Forum Young Scientists Prize. She was also recognized as Canada's top 20 under 20 by Plan Canada, and recently selected as one of top 6 female clean tech founders for Natural Resources Canada and Mars Discovery District. Please welcome Nivata. Thank you so much, Sonia, for the video. And I believe Nivata will be around for questions and answers. So please continue to populate the Q&A box with all of your questions. And at this time, I would like to thank all of the speakers who came out today and spent time with us and shared, their amazing and innovative and creative ideas to help us think about what Canada means to us and what we see as the path forward. At this time, I would like to invite Sonia for the post poll.
All right, thank you. So I will take over now and share the poll. So just like last time, I'm going to share the poll number 2 here. And there we go. So the question here is, do you think building and sharing meaningful insights on diversity and inclusion is essential to societal integration? And especially after watching this, I can see what the answer is here. And I will definitely share it in a second. All right. So I'm going to share my results here. And it's exactly what I was thinking it would be. It is extremely, extremely important, especially after hearing from everyone and what everyone had to say today. I think Nivatha is back and she would like to share a few words. So I'm going to hand it over to her.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today, and especially thank you to Dr. Alarami Adewale as well for the wonderful invitation to join today. Happy to be here, and happy Canada Day, early Canada Day to everyone.
All right. Okay, so we had promised you actually a Q&A, so I hope that you've been writing your questions and sending them across. Now we did get a few come in, so I'm just gonna call on you. Okay, perfect, you're with me. So our first question is actually for Moya Shore. Is Moya still with us?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. Okay, so the first question came for you. And that question was, what would you advise for young people of color who face racial marginalization at work and in school? We get to see your lovely face.
Okay, so I guess the first thing I would say is try to find a community. So at the City of London where I work, there's a community called, or like a club called ABC. So for Africans, Black people, and people who are from the Caribbean. And so we pretty much just come together and have meetings and talk about this thing. So if you've been marginalized, it's like a safe space, you know, for you to share whatever it is you're going through. And the group has resources, you know, that you can use, that you can reach out to in order to just help whoever is being marginalized. So I would say the first thing is just find a group or find a club or a community of people who have of people who are going through the same things that you're going through. That's like a good step. That way you're talking to people, and because people have also gone through these things, you're not necessarily the first persons, you know, people have gone through them and people have found ways, you know, to deal with these things. So talking to people is, and joining groups and joining communities, you know, that share the same values is a good way to deal with this. Even in school as well, I know because I attended the University of Toronto, we had groups like this as well, where we will just come together and speak about these things and find ways to move forward, you know, despite all of these things. So I would say connect with people that share the same values. That's one way I was able to deal with this.
And, you know, when I first heard you speak, you know, the one thing that kept coming across my mind was how important representation is, right? So representation does matter. And, even in thinking about, when you say, connecting with people who have already been on this journey, right? So it's also sort of encouraging, whoever had that question that I had asked earlier, it's about finding your own community of support, find like-minded people, don't be afraid to connect with people. I think over the last few years, we've been hearing so much made about, leaning in as women. But, I think now we need to also speak about leaning on, not being afraid to reach out to the community. So Moya, I'm going to ask you this. If people want to connect with you for mentorship or just guidance on, their pathway into law or even thinking it's a possibility, are they able to connect with you through LinkedIn or anything like that?
Absolutely. My name
Perfect.
is Moya Sarai Shomide on LinkedIn, and
Yeah.
you can also send me an email. I
I'm
have
going to ask you not to share your email yet. We will get WFC to do that for participants. But the reason why I don't want you to share your email is because part of that, taking that first step, is reaching out, and LinkedIn is such a great platform to do that. So I want to challenge really everyone on this call and our participant in our attendance list as well. Reach out to folks, take that first step to actually pursue those answers that you're looking for. But definitely, Moya, they can connect with you on LinkedIn.
Yes, they can.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being that representation that we're looking for.
Thank you very much, Nikki.
All right. Simi?
Awesome. On to our next question, which is for the Honorable Sheila Copps. Sheila, can you please talk a little bit about what does truth and reconciliation mean to you as a leader?
I think first of all is acknowledgement, and I was really impressed with the sandbox analogy that was referenced by one of the other speakers, because most of us don't really know that much about the Indigenous history that predates Canada. So first of all, the discoveries of the last couple of weeks have really shocked Canadians, but it's also focused us to look in on the people who were here before, who have been here for generations, for centuries. And honestly, I think part of it also is realizing that even whether it comes to women, racialized Canadians, Indigenous Canadians, when inclusion doesn't happen in one election, it doesn't happen in one generation. It takes a lot of time. And the one thing that I would reference, Sorry mentioned about finding a group of like-minded people. I think it's also important too that you reach out to not necessarily people who are against you, but don't necessarily pin yourself into one group, but rather be open to hearing all the stories. Because like when I mentioned earlier about the Indigenous languages, there are 56 Indigenous languages in Canada, and we spend so much time and effort worrying about endangered species of animals. And this goes for the world. We don't worry that much about endangered species of human beings in different parts of the world, whether it be the Kurds or the Rohingyas or different communities that are under stress. The cultural diversity of the world is important. And I think learning, listening, and then doing are probably the three things that I would say.
Thank you so much. And what I like about your answer is those are actually concrete steps that all of us can take, including myself, to continue to learn, but also to continue to unlearn some of the harmful things that we have been taught, and to constantly question some of the things that automatically come to our mind and figure out where those are coming from and if they are harmful thoughts. So thank you for that.
All right. My next question is for Penny. Is Penny in the house? Is Penny still with us?
I'm here.
Ah, fantastic. Penny, I am very sure that I will be connecting with you after this session because your message moved me that much. And what I really loved about your message is this, we talk a lot about what do we want to do, what do we want to say, and how do we want to, contribute to truth and reconciliation. But what I loved about your message was the, sort of flagging that in order to do so, you need to hone your intercultural like your intercultural communication skills, which is what I think people tend to not think about. You're approaching a whole new culture. What do you know about that community, and are you, and how are you approaching them, and are you actually approaching them rather, in a manner that actually sort of aligns with their values and sort of the way that, their culture and things like that. So thank you for flagging that. I really want to push people on this call to think about their relationship with the Indigenous communities. We also heard from Alice about, confronting your own biases and working through them. But to show sort of folks the benefit of doing that, our question to you is, how has your engagement with the Indigenous community contributed to your understanding of truth and reconciliation? And please take your time, because I know I said a lot before the question.
Well, thank you, Nikki. And I just reiterate, I'm at a cottage and I don't have very strong internet, so I'm connecting through my phone, and I hope that this is going to be heard. Just 3 days ago, I responded to a Facebook post from a neighbor, how, guide me. I'm an inspirational speaker with no words right now. Guide me, what to say, what to say about this, or to people. And the response that came back from the administration office was to please tell everybody that to read the Truth and Reconciliation documentation that's been provided, and not to expect that the Indigenous people need to teach us some of the things that they have been reporting for years. Like the Truth and Reconciliation report is dated 2015. So it was a recommendation from that post 2 days ago, basically said, please educate yourself. There's 94 recommendations, and our politicians need to be pressured to follow these recommendations, or our government needs to be pressured. So that's the message that was returned to me, which I'm basically returning to you right now. I read through that report. There are 94 recommendations, and I think that even myself, as one who walks with the Anishinaabe people, they're a very big, they make a very big percentage of my client base, my friends, my teachers, and my spiritual culture today. The answer is basically, to me, which spoke to me, is how can I find something in those 94 recommendations that I can help with? Because I think what I've heard you say, Nikki, is that when all is said and done, more is said than done. So what can we do? And it's just such an overwhelming thought that I think, sometimes just zeroing in on, okay, well, I'm an expert in conflict resolution, workplace relationships. So with that, what little piece of those 94 recommendations might I be able to assist with, rather than trying to, fix everything or contribute to everything. It's about finding our little piece, or even just putting ourselves out there to be available, to volunteer, or to help, or to serve.
I am in love. That's all I have to say. I love your response. Thank you so much for that. When we were sharing that link to the Truth and Reconciliation website, it was exactly for that reason that you mentioned. Go through the recommendations. Where you sit, right? Within your sort of, within the power that you have, what can you do right now to lift up and contribute to the Indigenous community? I love that. Again, I don't want to sort of take away or add from anything that you said. And I think it's important for everyone to really, again, reflect on the comments, really from all our panelists today, and find yourself in that truth and reconciliation. Thank you so much, Penny. Thank you. All right. Penny?
Great. So we have one final question, and that is for Alice. Alice, if you're still around, something that you touched on in your very funny piece was, talking about mental health, and that's something that a lot of Canadians struggle through, especially during COVID. And for women, they have struggled with parenting on top of everything while working from home, or going out to work and balancing so many other demands. What issues do you think will emerge for women in Canada as we move towards a post-COVID world? And are we ready?
That's a very important question. As women, I mean, the employment market and the professional landscape have always been unfairly balanced towards men and towards whiteness. So I think challenges that we can perceive is in a more competitive employment marketplace as we are all returning back to work. I mean, in this pandemic, it's become sort of a Russian roulette of employment, where some of us are able to maintain our jobs, but many of us have had to focus on new skills or new careers. And then returning back to this place is going to be, it's going to be even more competitive. So I believe that it's important to understand and recognize that these challenges still exist, and that we're going to have to stop competing with one another, as we often tend to do as women, and help to uplift one another and celebrate each other's successes, because we're in this together.
Awesome, thank you. And sorry for putting it on the spot. I knew I threw you a heavy one, but you answered it very eloquently and addressed a lot of the themes that have been coming up throughout the day about supporting each other. We will quickly, I know Sheila, you have your hand up, we will quickly just give you a minute to make any comments or ask questions.
I just wanted to re-emphasize there's a history repeats itself is a saying, and it's very true, because a lot of what we're trying to do now has actually been done by those who come before us. And for example, Annemie Paul was talking about recruitment for women into politics, and there's an organization called Equal Voice, which actually was founded by a group of women in a committee called the Committee of 94. Now, the Committee of 94 was in 1994. So you're talking 1994, 104, 114. It's almost 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Many of the answers to the questions that we're looking at can also be found by walking in the feet of those who have come before us. And I think that's also an important message, because I think in the issue of Indigenous reconciliation, and this was important to me when I was a small child. I lived in Hamilton, grew up in Hamilton, and the largest, most populated Indigenous territory is actually Six Nations. And my father took me to a powwow when I was about 8 years old, and I was absolutely shocked because I didn't know anything about this culture. Nothing was written in any of the history books. It was just like a big blank, and they were literally people that we were living side by side with. That process has gone on for a very, very long time, and I think the events of the last 2 weeks or several weeks have actually opened Canadians' eyes to the fact how the history books should include all of us, but we also have to know our history better. So I'll just finish with that.
No, that was well said. History repeats itself. It is important to understand, all the things that we're talking about right now, we've been talking about, at least in my consciousness, since the 80s. For sure. I can only imagine for you, Honorable Cobbs, just constantly having to drive this in, and where it almost feels like every decade or every couple of years we're restarting versus continuing where we left off. History repeats itself, but we can prevent that. Thank you so very much. All righty. Just give me 1 second, everybody. Ask for just a little bit of grace here. Okay.
Actually, Nikki, while you are taking a moment, I would love
Yes.
to ask Nivata, if you're still on the line, one question for you. I'd love
Perfect.
for a chance to hear you speak. I was curious, as a young scientist and as an entrepreneur, can you talk a little bit about how you've been navigating the ecosystem in Canada? I know for entrepreneurs it can be hard, especially young entrepreneurs, it can be hard to get the resources and support. So what has helped you? What can we do better to support you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So I started my entrepreneurial journey about 2 years ago. I think it's in the video that will probably be showed shortly, so it wouldn't take too much away from that. But it honestly, the support for me really was given through a platform called the Women in Clean Tech Challenge, which was one of the Innovation Canada challenges presented by the government. And this was a challenge I was focused on spearheading and supporting women in clean tech that are otherwise more likely underrepresented in the clean tech sector. And so it was a really great program that provided a perfect trifecta of business support, funding, and just the resources necessary to make that jump from idea towards commercializing a solution. Likewise, there are quite a few programs in Canada that are meant to support youth entrepreneurs, whether it be through incubation or accelerator programs. And of course, it definitely comes with its challenges, just like entrepreneurship with highs and lows. But I think that we're in a really great ecosystem just within our nation that is very supportive of entrepreneurs, and especially youth entrepreneurs that are budding. And yeah, so I'm really grateful for the support that we've been given so far and then continue to receive.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Navata. And I love that Kemi was right on it, because my next question was going to be, how do people connect with you? So for everyone, please check the chat for Navata's LinkedIn. And I'll just sort of say this message to our tech support. You know, if possible, perhaps we can queue up Navata's video for the end, or if not, can we post it on Facebook so that everybody can hear that message? So we'll let that stew for a bit. You know, Simi, you mentioned it before at, I think, about 1 o'clock, and I don't know if I actually felt it in my heart as much as I do now, as I'm inviting Michelle Jiang and Tammy Raju to come up and do some closing remarks. So let's see, is Michelle and Tammy, are you here with us?
Yes, we are.
Absolutely. So over to you.
Perfect. So thank you very much to all of the speakers for that very engaging Q&A session. So I'd like to begin by introducing my partner, Michelle Jiang. So she's an executive assistant and event planner with a Chinese and Canadian background who was educated and has lived in Canada for the past 16 years. Having an extensive experience working in diversified industries, she is dedicated professionally and passionately to support company growth. She loves and enjoys the freedom and cultural diversity in Canada. She's also a personal growth advocate, so she is passionately committed to her volunteer work with Women's Focus Canada.
Thank you, Tammy. And thank you again, everyone, for all the engaging speech, thoughts, and stories you shared with us today about what Canada means to me. Canada is a place of acceptance of diversity and people's heritage, nationality, and backgrounds. Canada is a place where we're able to live in harmony with that acceptance and inclusiveness. I'm so grateful for the multiculturalism of Canada because newcomers and first-generation communities are important and deserve to be celebrated today. That is why Canada Day should be taken as an opportunity to learn more about all of people and culture we share our country with. We can not only celebrate our achievement without acknowledging Indigenous people and their land in which we are on. We celebrate the traditions, values, cultures, and strength of Indigenous people in Canada. It is time to remember and appreciate the contribution they have made in forming the nations we live today, to recommit ourselves to recognizing and protecting their rights, and to advance the recognition of Indigenous people rights and self-determination. Canada may mean different things to different people. To many people, Canada is not just a place, it is home. We're dynamic, compassionate, and polite. We're progressive, diverse, and multicultural. We're brave, intelligent, and modest. We know we still have a journey in achieving inclusion of all peoples in Canada. This can only be achieved with all of us doing our parts. Today, we're thankful for this opportunity to recognize and celebrate all the peoples of Canada. No matter who you are, I encourage you, as my fellow Canadians, to proudly say, we're Canadian. So next, I'd like to introduce my partner today, Tammy Ridgel. Tammy is a recent graduate of University of Toronto with an educational background in political science and public policy. She is passionate about learning new life skills and constantly improve herself. Her personal commitment to diversity is both reflected by her rich Nigerian heritage and her volunteer work with Women Focus Canada. Tammy?
Thank you for that, Michelle. So on behalf of Women's Focus Canada, I would like to extend a warm welcome to everyone present today. I would like to express our gratitude to all participants of the seminar for their presence and contribution to make this event a great success. Particularly, I would like to thank all the speakers from today, the Honorable Sheila Copps, Nora Al-Jazawi, Annemie Paul, Mayor Frank Scarpitti, Moyosore Somide, Penny Tremblay, the Honorable Sonia Sidhu, Ms. Pamela O'Donnell, and Alice Rose. Thank you for making time to attend this event and for inspiring and encouraging us with your words on this special day. To Mayor Bonnie Crombie, Navatha Balendra, Dr. Fozia Alvi, CBC GEM, the Sri Sanskriti Dance Academy, and Prava Raghavan, we say thank you for your video contributions. Women's Focus Canada thanks Benazir Abdul Karim and Mata Partanik for their rendition of the Canadian National Anthem. Thank you to all the MPs, the Honorable Philomena Tassi of Hamilton West and Castor Dundas, and the Honorable Anita Vandenbeld of Ottawa West Nepean, the Honorable Meninda Sidhu of Brampton East, and the Honorable Saima Zahid of Scarborough Centre for sharing what Canada means to you. We are also appreciating everyone from within and outside Canada that shared their perspective on what Canada means to them. To our lovely moderators, Nikki Wahid and Simi Kaiser, thank you for doing such a great job and ensuring that the event flowed smoothly. To the committee members of Women's Focus Canada, Kemi Oduwale, Oluremi Adewale, and Elizabeth Nkumbula, we say thank you for your numerous efforts in organizing this event. Thank you to our technical support team for allowing this event to run without a hitch. Thank you to all the amazing volunteers, Rowena Power, Amaka Ekwenkwa, myself, Michelle Jang, Anu Oduwale, and Victoria Siutongwe, who worked hard over the last few days to prepare for this big day. Your efforts are much appreciated. Finally, a special thank you to every single guest who attended the webinar, and thank you all for your active participation. Once again, on behalf of Women's Focus Canada, thank you everyone for making this event a huge success. So to close things off a little bit, we do have some more videos of people sharing what Canada means to them. So let's all turn our attention to the video.
We want to thank you again, and we look forward to your ongoing support. Please connect with us on our social media platforms that we have here on the screen. Nikki, back to you.
All right, everyone, thank you for making this session absolutely awesome. It was awesome with our guests, but even made more awesome with all the supporters. We hope everyone has a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you again soon.